And it's Ken Kraetzer for Vets Media. We are in Honolulu, Hawaii, Waikiki for the Association of the U.S. Army Land PAC Conference, exhibit, symposium, gathering of U.S. military and Army leadership from the Pacific, and also we'll hear from allied countries. We have quite a number of allies that are represented here, including Korea, Australia, Fiji, Japan, that are going to speak at the sessions. And some of the topics: a joint force working as a unit within the U.S. military, but also with allied countries, expands the force. As we heard at the Navy League Conference last month in Washington, the way to a 1,000-ship fleet is by working with allies. So the same principle applies in land defense. Multi-domain operations, being able to work on the land, in the air, in space, underwater, so important. What are the acquisition needs of the Army? I got to think accelerating all of the missile defense programs and also the hypersonic missiles. I'm curious to see if there's a comment on that. Obviously, the Patriot missile that the Army utilizes has been tremendously successful. I'm curious if we're going to hear anything about the April 13th, 14th defense of the 300 missiles launched by Iran, that the vast majority were knocked down by systems from Israel, supported by the United States and allied countries. And so accelerated development there. Also, you hear in Army circles the need to replenish ammunition faster and always have more training time available for the soldiers to learn basic Army tactics, but also learn to use the more technical equipment that's coming out. As we heard down at the Army conference in Huntsville, the Army is one of the biggest customers for the Space Force, being able to use space-based satellites for reconnaissance and communications. So it goes from space to the ocean. And so again, defending sea and air from the land. Something that's being written about more is the need to have defense systems placed on allied countries' land areas, such as the Philippines, Japan, obviously Korea, and other island nations such as Fiji. So we're going to hear from speakers such as General Charles A. Flynn, Commanding General of the U.S. Army Pacific, and he'll talk about defending sea and air. We'll hear from a general from the Fiji military, and also Admiral Stephen T. Webb Kohler, who is a commander of the U.S. Pacific Fleet. We'll talk on Wednesday, and looking forward to that. We visited Pearl Harbor yesterday and saw the USS Arizona Memorial, and also visited the USS Missouri, representing the start and the end of World War II in the Pacific. But the Arizona is another reminder that the United States always has to be on guard against threats. We'll hear from Brigadier General Bernard Harrington and Colonel Michael Rhodes. Continuous transformation of the Army, modernization, while maintaining ready combat formations, being ready to fight on a moment's notice with quantities of soldiers and equipment, tanks, and field artillery now has really become so much more emphasized. Long-range precision fires. Under Secretary Ryan McCarthy used to tell us about that importance when they were trying to improve the technology a few years ago of long-range precision fires. And hear from a general from the Australian military, Lieutenant General Simon Stewart, and forging Indo-Pacific alliances, key topic of this conference. And we'll hear from Brigadier General Mark Siekman on the 9th Mission Support. And again, just building partner capacity to enhance joint interior lines. We got to find out more about interior lines, what they mean by that, but throughout the Pacific and island countries. And tactical defense, be a panel with representatives of military from Japan, Korea, and Australia. And then we'll close with a talk from the Undersecretary of the Army, Mario Diaz, and the Army and multi-domain operations. So I'm curious what will be said about the April 13th to 14th Iran missile attack on Israel, which over 300 missiles were launched at Israel, and the vast majority were shot down by a combination of resources from Israel, the United States, and other nations in a very well coordinated defense operation. And also I'm interested to hear about the development of hypersonic missiles and defenses the U.S. has and its allies to defend against hypersonic missiles. That's been a concern in Ukraine, that the Ukrainians needed more resources. They were being hit by hypersonic missiles, especially against their infrastructure. And so a lot on the agenda. We're very glad to be invited by the Association of the U.S. Army to cover this conference here in Waikiki, Hawaii. And I want to thank our sponsors, the New York Yankees, and also highlight the Special Operations Warrior Foundation. They provide scholarships and mentoring and support to families who have lost someone in military service from the Special Operations and also the Medal of Honor communities. So for Cadets Media, we cover cadets, midshipmen, the military, and veterans proudly since 2008. This is Ken Kraetzer from Waikiki, Hawaii.